the Career Center
Yeah.
helped me a lot in terms of events. Mainly when I became an alumni and I was looking for jobs, there were different events, and sometimes, you know, taking the opportunity to network with people who are, in different places, or alumni who are in different positions, maybe positions that you might be interested of.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the OSE podcast. Thank you for joining me for episode 7. This is the last episode of the season, and also my last episode as the host and GA for the online student experience. In this episode, we're going to be talking about what lies beyond and how to get there, kind of just focusing on what post-grad life is like and kind of how we can angle ourselves for the kind of jobs and roles that we're looking for in the fields that we're studying. And who better to talk about this than our previous GA, if you're familiar with him. I'll go ahead and hand it off to him to introduce himself.
Hello, everyone. Well, um, I was about to say welcome to the OC podcast. Anyways,
Deja vu.
it's always good to be back, and I'm really happy to be here and also to receive this invitation today. Thank you once again. My name is Joao Malanga, and I was also a previous GA at the online experience team. And while I was doing my master's degree at the University of Texas, UNT Going Green,
Going green.
and fortunately, I've graduated, and now I've moved on to a job, like away from this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's definitely the goal, I feel like, for everybody. I am kind of curious, kind of since you've brought that up, what kind of professional role are you currently working?
Oh yeah. So right now I'm working as an instructional designer at University of Idaho. I
Mhm.
work for the Center of Excellence in Teaching and Learning. And as I said earlier, I was doing my master's degree at Learning Technologies, and my track was in instructional design and technology. And right now I have the opportunity to, to practice what I learned at UNT as a student. So the experience that I have to go through while I was also pursuing my master's degree. And here at University of Idaho, and most of the tasks that are doing my instructional designer is a reflection of what I have learned at UNT while I was navigating in the program of learning technologies.
Gotcha. Yeah, so you're able to really apply a lot of what you learned in your master's, and it sounds like your bachelor's as well. It's kind of all culminated into what you're doing now over there at the University of Idaho. I'm kind of curious, how did you find your current role that you're in? Kind of what
Nah,
were the steps from OSC to, I guess, a year ago to now? Yeah, it's only been a
that's
year.
a good question, Ethan. I would say um, there was kind of a curve, but I did receive a lot of support at UNT. I guess this is one of the things like UNT did well, and specifically while I was GA at online student experience team, I had Andrea Carolet, who is the manager, who was
Hmm.
also supporting me as a mentor, and she advised me to follow some websites like higher ed jobs, to have a good presence on LinkedIn and other resources that were available at university. That being said, we had also this capstone course uh, in my last, what is this, during my last semester, where we had opportunity to create our own profiles and also to start to research for jobs while we were in our last semester. With that being said, it was more like a combination of using resources like the resources that university has,
Hmm.
and also visiting website that my mentor was suggesting to me, like Hire Jobs, LinkedIn, and also participated in some job fairs that were available at UNT by different kind of company. And this specific job, this specific role, I found that higher end job.
Yeah, no, we've definitely been talking a lot on is even in this season about like job fairs and the importance of utilizing your resources on campus. I also thought it was kind of interesting what you're saying, like kind of leaning into like your like connection with Andrea. Obviously, we're a big fan of Andrea here, but like just in general, like leaning into like your current supervisors because Like they, especially as a student employee, like everybody here wants you to like succeed, and they're more than happy to help you move on and find these kind of positions that you're wanting. I am kind of curious, like, what was that timeline like from, graduating? Did it start before graduation, or what was kind of your personal track?
Wow, that's a good question. Um, I had kind of a sweet bitter experience because it was sweet at the beginning, then it was getting a little bit bitter at the end. With that being said, my timeline would be like 1 to 2 months to get a job offer.
Hmm.
I had a couple applications because it was an international students, and there is like an additional layer as
Mm.
an international student that you need to meet before you start with certain position. At least during my master's program, we were prepared to be in the field to get a job.
Hmm.
And while I was doing my master's degree, I was being equipped with the necessary skills to look for a job and also to enhance my portfolio so that it can be really helpful during my application. And it helped me to get a job 1 month, 2 months after
Hmm.
I graduate.
Gotcha. Yeah, it sounds like the kind of work that you're doing in your master's was already kind of like setting you up in terms of not just like, oh, like here are the skills, but like in terms of like on the job, but like here are the skills to get the job and here are the skills to get there. I also, I'm personally already kind of searching for jobs as I'm kind of heading into graduation. I have about, I want to say like 3 weeks left, something like that. Um, and so it definitely is like very reassuring to hear like, oh, like kind of within like a couple months. I know it can kind of take a different amount of time for everybody, especially given, maybe your own individual circumstances, like what kind of steps it might take to get there. Like for you, there's kind of international layer that definitely can kind of make um, cause some for additional considerations for you. But then also maybe like there are things like, oh, like where do I want to live after graduation? Like I know that a lot of people are here and they've moved here for their university experience. So maybe like they don't want to stay in Texas, or maybe they want to move somewhere else in Texas. And
That's
Texas is
right.
huge.
While I was studying and while I was also a GA at
Hmm.
UNT, it was really helpful because most of the time that I was doing was also like leading me to be in the position that I was right now. And I was just creating my portfolio, having a good presence in LinkedIn. Because right now, LinkedIn is one of the ways that you can showcase your skills, maybe while studying it. It's a very good place. And also talking with people who are already in their job, people like
Hmm.
Andrea, Dallas, other people who might even in some cases be alumni of the University of North Texas that helped me in my process because a lot of alumni from UNT who were in different positions. I reached out to them through
Oh,
LinkedIn, like, hey, I'm a student at UNT. I see that you are in this position. Can you give me some tips? And that helped me.
what was your experience like reaching out to them? Like, did you kind of reach out to like, people at the University of Idaho and saw that they also had like a background at UNT?
Mm, in the specific case of Idaho, I didn't find any UNT alumni, but as I said earlier, apart from University of Idaho, I had other offers. And these are other offers. I had some UNT alumni that even suggested me to be applying to those specific positions, for example. With that being said, I also participated in the most events that UNT was organizing. I participated in conferences that was really helpful. That I remember my student experience in the team at that time. I suggested that, hey, there is a conference, and there was a fee that I was able to afford. And at that time, when I presented that to Dallas and Andrea, they were like, hey, good, we can sponsor you to do that. Go, because it's going to be very good for your professional kind of background. And I could network with some people in there, which helped also me to meet people from different places.
I feel like there's just like so many resources that aren't necessarily like utilized,
Yeah.
that are just really, yeah, really valuable. Going into our next question, how did you get interested or kind of involved in your current field?
That's a very good question, Anton, once again. And specifically to the instructional designer, was something that I was looking for first because after I finished my bachelor's degree, I took like at least 3 years. Yeah, 3 years, which I did in academia because I was working teacher.
Hmm.
Then I had also this passion about technology since I was a kid. I always, even though I didn't bachelor's degree in science, but I always was studying technology. And I was trying to understand how I can find technology and education at the same time. And later on, I realized that there is a field which is learning technologies. And right now, I think I am in the position of my dream as a
That's
professional.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's really really motivating to hear that like you didn't necessarily find it like right off the bat. Kind of took some like experience, like you had this experience in education and then you had experience in computer science and then kind of just like blending the two. I feel like I know a lot of people that like are farther along in their careers that that's kind of where they've kind of landed is like once they get that kind of experience, they're able to kind of marry those different like interests. And I feel like sometimes when you're like maybe a little bit earlier on, it's like, oh, like, like I kind of like this thing, but also like I want to do this thing, but I don't like they're completely different. But I think I kind of find it once you kind of gained experience, you're able to like sometimes like kind of cross those over and yeah, find something that you're really passionate about.
There is this thing about passion that some people sometimes confuse a lot because they feel like doing something that you are passionate about is going to be always okay. It's going to be sunshine and rainbows, which is not true. Sometimes even pursuing your passion, you can have like something that you don't like. And at the end of the day,
Mm,
you realize like this is your passion, and most of the stuff that you don't like, you can handle it while you are doing what you like. For example, I like designing courses. I like working in technologies. I like interacting with people, giving them experience, give them tips, and sometimes instruction, and sometimes just listening to people about what they have to tell you.
mm.
And my role, my profession basically combines all these different aspects of the human aspect of it and also the computer or the technological aspect, which is basically merged. It's like the great side of technology and education, and I love it.
So going into our next question, how did your coursework, on-campus employment, internships, and things like that kind of help prepare you and make you feel confident for the things that you're doing now?
I mentioned earlier that during my master's degree in the academic side, I was like the subjects or the courses that I was taking, they were aligned to actually what going on in the marketplace, in the job place. My courses, the activities that I was taking, helped me to be ready to this position. Additionally, while I was also studying as a GA, I was also doing some activities, some assignments that helped me to be in this position. For example, I was developing courses. I was assisting in some, know, scheduling of some events, assisting the creation of some important activities that have to do with the online students' experiences, such as online activities, sometimes participating in webinars and conversations with students and
Hmm.
faculty, and that was really meaningful to my profession as a student, and also to to get to the position where I am. I think like without my academic kind of background, the experience that I had in academia, I wouldn't be in the position that I am right now, and I would not know the things that I know right now, and I would not be so able to employ some of the skills that were only possible because I took some courses and I had some hands-on activities while I was also working as, for example, a GA, an online student experience.
Yeah, I think it's very like the specific track that you end up taking, a lot of people end up taking a lot of similar classes or doing a lot of similar experiences, but you have like your own like unique path, like based off of like, like maybe I did this major, but I also had this, and this experience. And I think in your case, like the experiences that you had definitely like specifically set you up and kind of led you in that direction. Whatever you're doing now, it has like is playing a role in kind of your story as it unfolds. Moving on to our next question, what are some struggles that people might have when they're looking for work or like figuring out what they want to do, and how would you recommend navigating them?
Yeah, I would say focus is one of the main struggle because sometimes it's really kind of hard to navigate the market, like the workplace, mainly in current, environment. A lot of things are going on, which, are making people to overthink.
Yeah, it's hard to like keep up
Sometimes
the
it,
motivation to keep going
yeah,
if you're overwhelmed with all the different possibilities that you could take.
that's right. And it can be really hard to be focused in this case. And the lack of focus can be one of the things that might make you, for example, think that everything is terrible. And you can be struggling and
Yeah.
you can, apply to different jobs, even in some cases, jobs that do not match your profile or your academic or professional background. With that being said, I think one of the things that I would say, even though some people may say it's a little bit generic, but it is to be focused. As like your second question, which is like how people should be navigating that. First of all, you should decide what you want,
Hmm.
what skills you have, and what you know. After that, you will be applying to jobs that match what you want, what skills you have, and what experience you have. And doing that, you're not only helping yourself, actually, you're also helping the people who are going to be hiring.
Yeah.
Okay, they're going to see like watch the qualifications, but the required qualifications that they are looking. But
Yeah.
when you
It's a mutual relationship there.
yeah, when you are fox are all a little bit confused, which I understand. We're still humans. Sometimes we are unfocused. Me personally, sometimes I'm unfocused with some kind of tasks, which I know it can hinder uh, the activity or the task that I'm doing. However, when I'm in this kind of position, I have to calm down. I need to be focused. Need to know what I want to achieve, and then create a plan upon that. Then decide and apply. In this case, talking about jobs to the jobs that meets my professional and academic background.
That definitely helps to be like forward thinking with what you're doing and not kind of like scrambling, and because it never feels good to be kind of like desperately searching, and unfortunately sometimes that's where we put ourselves in, especially when
Yeah,
we lose focus like that.
it's
um
kind of hard. And mainly, I'm going to say, as I said earlier, we as international students, we have this layer which we need to, meet certain requirements. And sometimes it's really, we struggle a lot for the
mm,
international student, for example, to have a to have focus. And because there are a lot of things going on. But I would say something I said for the general public, international students, no international students, traditional students, everybody, like, focus is the key. Try to slow down, of course, have a plan and stick to the plan. I know it can be hard to stick to the plan. When it's hard, take time to rest, then come back tomorrow and stick to the plan. So I'd
that's some
say
good
that
advice, yeah. Kind of speaking of future thinking, what goals do you have for yourself looking forward in your own career?
it's kind of hard
Yeah.
because as I was talking about focus, this is one of the fields that I need to be more focused about. But right now, there are two things that I really want to do. Right now, I want to be focused on my current position to grow as much as I can and to be very articulated and high level in my field, which involves dedicating myself to help folks, faculty, in this case in a higher education setting, to feel more appreciated and also to make better use of text and also other pedagogical tools that are important. For example, in higher education right now, there is a lot of going on in terms of AI, artificial intelligence, and some
Hmm.
companies are really worried about that. They are, there is a panic in that. And now we, not international, but in fractional design, we play a crucial role, go deeper into that and to assist them better. And within 5 years, I guess I'm going to be a very proficient instructional designer because I think right now I'm in the right path. And the other thing I want to do is also to, have some kind of consultation agency to help uh, new instructional designers and also help folks in general, for example, students, professionals who might be facing a lot of difficulties to be focused and also to find matches between their academic and professional background. And I think it's really important.
Mm.
And
You're kind
um,
of doing that right now a little bit, giving like
I'm doing
advice
that
and
right now. Yeah,
emphasizing that focus towards other students and other people kind
yeah.
of.
And I would like to escalate it more, maybe in the future, having like a specific place where folks can come and have
Yeah.
this support as an instructional designer once again. And maybe in the future, I'm thinking to become a professional instructional designer in technology to help folks in a more academic kind of way.
You touched upon this a little bit when you were talking about reaching out to alumni in the job search itself, but how would you recommend students stay connected to UNT? And are there any like resources as an alumni that you feel like have been helpful or that would be helpful to other people as they're graduating and moving out into the workforce?
That's
Or
good.
yeah,
I would start suggesting to be very attentive to the emails because UNT has a very good way to communicate with their alumni. At least I think every single week I receive an email from UNT like telling me about the different events that alumni can participate.
so
Not
don't
only,
unsubscribe from emails.
oh yeah, and what else? Not only for let's say professional or academic things, there's opportunities to have fun, to attend football games and stuff.
Yeah.
Apart from that, UNT has really good resources in terms of the different departments that they have. The Career Center
Yeah.
helped me a lot in terms of events, mainly when I became an alumni and I was looking for jobs. There were different events, and sometimes, you know, take the opportunity to network with people who are, in different places or alumni who are in different positions, maybe positions that you might be interested of. With that being said, there are certain resources that I think to be very helpful. One of them is the students who needs to be aware of the email that UNT sent you about the events that they have, and also to be very aware that there is a resource center, or career center that can help you also be aware of the job opportunities that you can apply as an alumni.
Well, moving into our last question, what advice would you give somebody who's kind of in the beginning process of looking for work or, maybe dreading graduation and not sure where to go? Like, what would you say is like their path to success?
I feel when we providing advice, we have to be very careful because there are people with distinct experiences and background. But I feel like one of the advice I would say to the people would be repeating what I said earlier to be focused on the things that they want to do in the field. And more importantly, start reaching out to companies that you feel like might be a good match for you while you are, graduating. Don't be scared of like mailing people like maybe they are in the human resource or whatever position they have in their company. Don't be scared. Some of them they are expecting you guys to email them. And of course, so network with alumni that some of them can be in the position that you are right now, and some of them are not, and they are maybe in the company that you are looking for. They can be really helpful because they have information that you cannot find on the
Yeah.
internet. I know that people feel, and I know this, internet can be really helpful to find information, but humans still being like keeper of the amount of information that you internet
Hmm.
does not have. With that being said, reaching out to alumni that are in the companies that you have should be really good. And I used also this tool that UPT has, which is Handshake, and is really good tool. And I would recommend also people to use that, to reaching out to people there. sometimes you're going to be receiving messages from folks over there. Pay attention to messages. They are very, and they can really sometimes lend you.
Well, thank you so much for sharing all that with us. I definitely echo, don't be scared, reach out, use your resources, and yeah, just stay focused. For anyone that's approaching graduation or maybe has recently graduated and is now an alumni, we're going to link some resources. Definitely encourage you to reach out and yeah, use those resources and yeah, don't be afraid. Everyone's very excited and more than happy to help you pursue your goals and help you set yourself up for success. As I said at the beginning of the episode, this is my last one, so goodbye to all of you all. I appreciate everyone who has been tuning in, commenting, engaging, joining us for the episodes. Like, thank you, Malanga, again for joining us on this episode. As always, we'll do our sign off. Go Mean Green.
Go Mean Green!